A cyclist is recovering back home in Colorado after he went missing during a race in Costa Rica earlier this month. The 55-year-old survived nearly a day and a half in the rainforest before finding his way back to safety. Today, he shared his incredible tale with 9 News reporter Jonathan Gonzalez.
When I was washed down the river, my shoes came off. So I was doing all this in a pair of socks.
Even with shoes, Mark Lyons' adventure through the Costa Rican rainforest would have been too difficult for most of us. He was there earlier this month for La Ruta de los Conquistadores.
It's considered the toughest mountain bike race on the planet, is what they call it, yes.
Mark was only 20 steep miles into day one and covered in mud, so he stopped at a river he needed to cross to rinse off his bike.
Next thing I know, I hit the first little fall and picked up speed pretty quick, and I was cruising down that river pretty fast.
Mark let go of his bike about 200 yards downstream, floating in and out of the water for about 10 long minutes.
And that was really the only time during the whole event that I thought that I might not make it.
Mark eventually came to a stop, forcing his body to exit the river up a steep hill.
When it got dark, it was pitch black that night.
Mark spent that night under a tree without any food or water.
And I really wasn't scared. I was just thinking about, what's my plan? How am I going to do this?
The next day, Mark says it took him nearly every second of daylight to find his way back to the road he got lost from. There, he was met by rescuers.
I mean, I couldn't even lift my legs. There were vines 6 inches off the ground. I would lift my legs over at times.
And despite all of the media attention and all of the love he's received, he seems to be pretty modest about the whole thing.
In a way, I don't think it was that big of a deal. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it to me.
Despite what he says, it's a very big deal because doctors told Mark his kidneys were failing him and he didn't have much time left before making it to a hospital. Mark says he never let himself get scared. In fact, the only thing he was worried about was making sure his friends kept racing despite his disappearance. They, of course, Christine, were too worried about him to keep on going the next day.
Well, you can imagine friends would be so worried about that. And I mean, he's saying, oh, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but he was injured in this as well. I mean, he didn't get out.
He's suffering from broken ribs. He had bruising all over his body. You can only imagine his feet. Again, he had no shoes for a day and a half while hiking for hours through the rainforest. I think he said it was something upwards of like 32 hours in the rainforest. Just an incredible story, and he's so modest about it.
Maybe he was just born for adventure.
I guess so.
And he should probably write a book about it.
Yes, he probably should. Good idea.
Jonathan, thanks.